Hola. Hola.
He's English.
Right.
I get the booze.
Go ahead and take a sniff.
Basically, this was a t-shirt. It's like...
That's an interesting.
Oh, it's got a bit of brown in it. Alexa, turn the music off.
Ooh, fancy.
Yes.
Hey guys, fellow tennis nerds, I'm here with Nikki, another tennis nerd running Unstrung Customs, painting rackets, stringing for pro players and rec players, running a stringing service at a tournament.
Yep.
And amazing racket collection behind. We're going to have a look at that and lots of things going on. So what's this huge venture you have going here in Marbella?
So we have a big setup. I mean, we do try to do a little bit of everything in terms, like you said, obviously stringing, customizing, racket painting. We have online courses trying to help improve the level of stringing and customizing around the world as well. So just keep trying to, do new things, some different things, trying to like change up a little bit the way the kind of stringing and racket business is kind of going. So it's, trying to push the boat out a little bit.
Kind of like a challenger to
Just something new, something a bit different, thinking about things a little bit sort of differently, a little bit more modern, let's say, So just to kind of, like I said, like bring the whole level and the understanding both of customizing and stringing, both not just for like tour players, but also for recreational players, like the impact that it can have and how it can help.
Cool. And you were a pro player yourself before, in case people didn't know that.
Yeah, I played, I stopped when I was 23, 24. Then I was traveling as like a practice partner and a tour coach. And then I started stringing, I'd been stringing obviously for a long time, but started like the company similar time. So now I've been running about 6 years. And then it kind of transitioned. I wasn't keen on traveling anymore. I traveled enough and so then we started like most people know that we started off just stringing and customizing and then the racket painting kind of happened by accident.
Like most good things
do,
right?
Exactly. And now here we are.
Yeah. So what do you do the most? Is it stringing, racket painting, or it's a mix of everything?
It's a mix of everything, to be honest. We do mainly racket painting, I would say, at the moment. Quite happily that even after obviously the last couple of years, like people are still keen to play tennis. They still want to have their rackets painted and just do something new. So that's kind of the main thing that we've been trying to do more of as well, just to think of different things. And everybody wants something a little bit unique or personal these days. A racket is just another extension of that.
Yeah. So I've seen your kind of the painting business grow over the years, and also you've added a lot of different colors and different ways of approaching it. You can do pretty much anything, like matte.
Exactly. I mean, the techniques, like everything, you get better as you go along. We started off with kind of like just base colors. Then we started adding some logos in, and now like you said, we can do pretty much anything within reason. So obviously, I have an art and design kind of background at school, but obviously, like a tennis racket is something so different because obviously there's so many small sides to it. There's no big face. There's no big sort of piece to work on. Everything is quite small and difficult to sort of work with. So it takes a lot of practice. But now we can do some cool stuff.
And then you still customize as well for some pros.
We still customize for our players. The new ones that we've been getting, and also like the like long-time clients have still been coming back, which is good. And then we have the pallets as well that some of our players are using. The list.
And you do paddle rackets as well.
Paddle rackets as well. We paint and make as well. So we work with a factory here in Malaga that we've worked with. I did some testing with, and then we paint them. So instead of having to obviously buy a retail bat or racket, you can just we'll do the whole process for you.
Okay, so you just buy it straight
away
from you.
Exactly.
Okay.
Yeah.
That's very cool. Yeah, that's a growing sport everywhere, pretty much.
Yeah, it's growing. It's coming to Europe a lot, obviously, especially in Sweden and places like that. But it's cool.
It's easier to paint a paddle racket than to paint a tennis racket.
Yes, in the like art side, yes, but it's also more difficult because the faces are bigger. It's a lot easier to put too much weight on. So controlling the weight is a lot more difficult. So you have to be a lot more careful in terms of like overspray and how you plan your paint jobs and stuff like that, which is kind of the more difficult side of the painting. Is actually planning it like anything. You have to have a little plan to make sure that it works in the end.
Yeah. So when you get like an order, I mean, I saw one of them. Like you had like one guy, he has a shirt that he likes, and he wants his racket to look the same. Like, how do you approach that?
First of all, I'm like, you have to think for a little while how you can, translate, something. It was a very abstract shirt, and with a lot of colors and stuff. And then I did some designs in the computer, just on Photoshop with different like aspects of the shirt, trying to just take the key aspects, because there are some things that we can't do. There was a guy once, he wanted the matrix pattern on the racket.
Well, that's a difficult one.
There's just not possible. Sometimes you just have to know when to say no, because it's just not.
It's a good idea,
possible.
but
it's cool. It would look really cool, but
idea,
it's just not possible. So there are sometimes we have to say no, like this we can do, this we can't, and kind of help steer the client in the right direction. And I think the rackets came out really well. Actually, I think they look even better than the shirt. So
I would agree. Having seen both, right?
Yeah.
But so you get some crazy ideas, and then you bounce a bit back and forth with the customer,
which
right?
A lot of people, in terms of the project, is not just the painting, it's also the consultation, it's also the time it takes to design it on the computer. It's not just, people often just assume that, it's just, okay, sand it, paint it, done. There's a lot that goes into it. Also researching, finding the logos, finding the obscure little, tapes or materials that we need to use to create certain designs. There's a lot that goes in behind, like anything, there's people don't always notice what's going on behind, the work.
No, it's a long process, and it's an impressive place you have. You have the painting rooms and drying rooms and everything, and it's also you have some help as well, which is needed. How many rackets do you paint a week?
It varies a lot. I mean, we, for example, if I look behind us, we have 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, 11. We have 14 on the go at the moment, which need to be done sort of end of next week. And then we might have 3-4 days where there's nothing, and then suddenly one person orders, and then shipping times vary. If people send us rackets or we're waiting on rackets, so there's always at least like 10-15 on the go. So we're never bored.
And you can order them like from worldwide, and it's just different shipping
exactly.
expectations.
If the further away you are, the more I recommend like us providing you with the racket, because we'll just match, obviously whatever price it is online, we'll match it to save on shipping costs. Because obviously if you're like, for people that are in the States or in Australia and stuff, like it's, instead of spending 90, 100 euros or dollars or whatever to ship us the racket, spend 140, and then you have a new racket, plus you can keep the one there, you don't have to, you still have yours, you get another one, it's brand new. So it just more economical, like makes sense. But for people around Europe and stuff, they just ship it to us. It takes about 2 weeks, and then we ship it back, and that's it. So like within Europe and stuff, shipping obviously is pretty easy.
So what can you do in terms of, let's say someone, I get these questions sometimes via email and stuff, like I want to change the grip shape of my racket, and they don't use head. They want a head grip on a Wilson racket.
Yes.
Is that something you can provide as well? Or?
Yeah, so we do. I mean, there's 2 options. One is with the palettes that we created, like 3D palettes. I think you tested as well. Their upside and their downside is that they're very specific. So the palettes are specific to the model shaft, because obviously under each foam there's a different shape shaft. So fitting and design can be you just need to have a little bit of experience with rackets. So your average stringer customizer should be able to do it, no problem. Obviously people can send it to us, but so you can basically choose whatever outer shape and size you want. But it goes from, we don't really do anything under a 2, so from a 2 to a 5, because anything smaller is nearly impossible to print, like 3D print. And then the other option we do is also like grip shaping by sanding. So manually sanding them, which for some is easier as well. It's cheaper because there's less going into it. But obviously we need to receive the rackets, and it's if it's no more than 2 or 3 rackets, it's fine. But to do it on 6 or 8 is a bit difficult. To get them perfect. So they're like the 2 main options. And then also building up grips. People can build up grips themselves at home with some tape. If you know the right
sleeve or something.
I always prefer tape, to be honest. Like actually just like duct tape, gaff tape is like great because it's very firm and it sticks well. And just knowing how and where to apply it, you can actually, and it holds the shape of the bevels really well. Whereas with the shrink sleeves, I think you often lose the shape of the grip.
It adds like a foam kind of padding
exactly,
to it,
and it gets rounder and stuff. Whereas for example, let's say you have a babolat shape, but you want it like a little bit more rectangle, let's say more traditional head, you can just actually try and just add some tape to the sides, and it will bring it out a little bit. Obviously, you can't do crazy big differences, but you can, you can have a play around with that kind of thing as well.
Cool. You got some questions from your followers as well, because you have an Instagram profile and which you're pretty active on. So.
Yeah, exactly. We try to be at least daily to put stuff out there, and it's content creating. It's hard work, but it's good, and people always enjoy it when we put new things out, different things out. So I put yesterday on Instagram, like if you guys had any questions. So just going to run through some of the questions. It was more for us to discuss. It wasn't like a question. So. Charles Ryan asked the ideal swing weight and how to customize to a player's body technique identity, i.e. a baseliner all court. So like some questions can be quite vague and like difficult to answer. So there's, I think it's important that people understand that there isn't like a one correct like setup, swing weight, balance. There is within reason, I think anyway, like certain types of setups that help certain types of players. But at the same time, it's always dependent on your ability, on your technique, on how much you play, how often you play. Like the racket that I used to compete with I can't play with that on a regular basis anymore.
Nor coach with it, because a coaching racket.
Exactly. Whereas, I might be able to find something now in between a racket that's a little bit lighter, something I can play with if I need to play matches and I can still coach with, so it's, I think as well from all the testing you do that it's about having a guideline, and then from there trying not overthinking it either. Because too often people blame their rackets or their strings or their setup or.
I think so. It's pretty common.
So it's you have to give yourself the chance to get used to something and also maybe get some advice. Either from you, from us, like people or your stringer or somebody that you trust has some knowledge. And even if it costs you a little bit of money, it stops you having to test 15 different rackets or loads of different setups. So maybe, like I don't know what the consultation fee is, but anywhere between, 40, 50, 60 euros, whatever it is, it'll save you a lot of testing and you'll actually get some useful information. So.
No, if you're really ambitious, I think it makes sense to try to get, it's difficult to find the right help. Also, swing weights are very personal. So, for example, we had your collection over there of pro player frames. We have Carlos Moya, who played with that 390 swing weight strong, which he might not do today and might not work for anyone else but him.
Exactly.
So that's so personal. So you have to kind of tweak yourself to find
and
your
also
approach.
be honest with yourself, remember that most of us are not Novak Djokovic or Federer or, people like that they are. Just because you see their specs online probably means you shouldn't use them. It's too much. So,
And that's why retail rackets are the way they are as well, because they're intended for the audience that are buying tennis rackets. It's not for a pro who can get like whatever they want in specs and play every day. It's for you who, easy swinging racket, forgiving, some free power. That's pretty much it.
And also at the same time, I think that everybody should have like anybody that plays more than once or twice a week should have a retail racket and then have it tweaked ever so slightly, whether it means just having them matched or having them customized ever so slightly. It just helps. It just it gets rid of those bad days, so you actually get to enjoy playing more. I think or if you break a string, you're not like, I don't want to use this racket, it's not my favorite or whatever. So just those little things like tennis isn't a cheap sport already. So if you're willing to invest the time and the effort and the money into it, then just going that little bit further, it's just going to make the whole enjoyment, I think, better.
I agree.
Next question from Jay Sousa. When to add weight to a racket for tournament players, please? Big fan of you both. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Again, I think we kind of covered it a little bit. I think
you have to feel it out, and experiment and see whatever you want. And I think one of the most common issues I see is that people slap too much weight on a racket and without incrementally testing to see how it affects their game. So if you start like, this is not stable, so you add like 4 grams to 3 and 9, and then you go 2 grams there, and you want to add in throw. Take it 1 gram at a time.
Like literally a couple of grams can make a big difference. So just go easy. And I mean, if you're playing tournaments, you probably should have customized rackets. Again, if it's just matched, if you like one, then just get them matched. Like it doesn't need that you need like crazy high spec stuff. Just have them matched. Next
one thing I want to add is that swing weights tend to go down now. So if there are many like retail rackets that have decently high swing weights, even for tournament players on a pretty high level. So you might not need, getting the match is always very important, but you might not need to add a lot of weight to most retail rackets because they're already heavy options, right? So
exactly.
Just make sure that you can get them matched, and then you're fine.
Exactly. And also, it's in the like retail rackets interest to make them good to play with.
Exactly.
You know, so like
otherwise
they
won't sell. So.
No, so they're not like, people have this kind of perception, I think, of like pro stock rackets and retail rackets, and like retail rackets are supposed to be good, like they are good. You know, like most players play with a racket that was once retail, one way or another. So there's
no magic in pro stock.
No, exactly. From D Margetti 79, how today's rackets are poor quality, paint comes off too quick, and how they are too hollow. I think it depends on the rackets. I mean, there are some great rackets out there these days. Sure. There are some terrible rackets out there these days, but I think there's always been.
I think nothing has really changed. I don't think the paint jobs are much worse than they were. I think it's just a different target group, kind of, and a different game. So the rackets are, you can call them hollow, and maybe you like a super solid feeling, and you can get an old school feeling racket still today, but or play with an older racket and buy them used or whatever. But the reason they're feeling hollow is mainly because they're kind of lighter, because you need to be able to move them faster.
Yeah, exactly, to accelerate faster. So, like we just said, I mean, they try to make the retail rackets as good as possible
for the modern game.
Yeah, right? For the modern game, exactly. So there are some purists out there that that want the old school stuff, which is always good. But
and you can get it, but it's a different game, so it depends on what you like. And, it's tough to say that there's a sweeping statement of like rackets today are shit. I don't believe that's true.
I think a lot of the new frames are great, and so calculating swing weight at home from George Andreas Copiano. I mean, there are a couple of ways you can do it. You can use the Tennis Warehouse calculator thing. Then
you have to put the thing like swinging on and measure it. It takes a bit of a work.
There's not an easy way to do it, but it can be done if you have the time and patience. And I would say with that, you can use it if you want to calculate the same swing weight for a couple of rackets. So if you want to match your rackets for the swing weight, you can do it at home. So if you have 2 or 3 and you want to do it yourself, and you can customize, by all means, calculate the swing weight for those 3 and try to match those 3 up. However, the swing weight you might get isn't going to be the swing weight that we get on the 3-in-1 machine.
No.
But the consistency might be somewhat similar.
Exactly.
So it's the same with like stringing machines, that a good and a bad string machine isn't necessarily the thing. Like that just because one pulls tighter than the other is, if they're next to each other, they're going to be very different. But if you know that, for example, your machine pulls a little bit loose, then you can always just adjust for it, and you just keep it consistent. So it's the same thing with that. I mean, again, you would want to do it for 1 or 2 or for fun. I wouldn't do it for 8 rackets if you're going to customize. No. So then it is, if you're looking to customize, you need to bite the bullet and take the investment on some kind of swing weight machine.
Exactly. Either get it serviced through a shop that has a swing weight, but not all of them have. Or you can buy. There are cheaper versions than the Head 3-in-1, which is a great machine that I also have. But there are cheaper just swing weight.
Exactly. Yeah.
So you can get around it if you're super ambitious.
So next question from Server 777 just says new rackets. So I guess maybe any new rackets coming out that we know of that we could talk about.
Well, the most recent release is the Clash version 2. Review out on my channel.
Yes.
You've yet to try them.
Speed as well.
Speed is coming in March. It's an interesting update as well. And what else is there? I mean, there will be new Prince Extreme Tours coming out, which a lot of players like.
And the new Yonex frames came out as well.
Yonex zones are pretty new. So there are, I mean, the new frames, I think what we've seen is that the tempo of new frames have increased, like everything else. Like new phones coming out every 6 months, one per year, and it's tough to keep up.
I understand both. I understand why they do it a little bit as well. Obviously, people want new things, but at the same time as well, it stops them having like a surplus of crazy stock of things, hanging on for too long. But I don't know what else is changing this year. Is the Aero changing?
Yeah, later, towards end December.
Radical as well is changing in September. It's normally US Open time, the Radical, I think. And so there should be some cool stuff coming out. I would say that generally the new paint jobs from most companies have been pretty cool.
Yep.
Like there's been a little bit more going on, you know, like Wilson have done with the chameleon paints, the Clash cool paint colors cool, and Onyxes are cool.
Yep. High quality paint. I mean, also
Yeah.
like but what we've seen in increases in and what they've changed overall is pretty minor updates.
Yeah.
But so if you have a previous version, if you want to save money and don't go crazy, you can play with that one still.
Yeah, of course.
Obviously, everybody wants to buy new stuff,
Yeah,
but
yeah.
but the changes are not huge
No,
this year, I
no,
would say.
No, I would say
My
the one
feeling.
racket that I think might get pushed more in the next year or two is the Babla Aero VS.
Yeah, that's already a huge bestseller.
Yeah.
Also with so many like Alcaraz and
Exactly,
Rune
yeah.
and, you know,
Using it, I think that's going to be, you know, that might slowly start to take over as being like one of Bablat's more sort of flagship frames.
Of course,
in
for
the-
advanced players, for sure, it's going to be that.
that little bit more control based, and then I would also say for any collectors out there that have any, keep them, because if you know, and Alcaraz wins a couple of Grand Slams in the future, you know, it's one of those that if you have Rafa's original frames, aero frames, they're worth a lot of money. They are worth a lot, like within reason, like so. Yeah, it's a cool racket to have if you know.
It's
can get
becoming one of those kind of somewhat iconic new models.
Exactly,
right?
and that'll be, you know, the classic racket in like 5-6 years times that like, oh, the original one was the best, oh, pro stock this, but it's just a normal retail model.
Yep.
So
Which many pros are actually
now
using on different levels.
Exactly, yeah. From Adrian Czar, benefits of leather grip and lead and its impact.
Benefits of a leather grip. I probably recently did a video about this, but it's some people love to feel the bevels. Like that's a lot of pros do it.
Yeah.
Not all pros, but some pros.
Yeah.
And you really feel the bevels, and you add some weight to the handle.
yeah.
That's pretty much what I see.
But the
from
downsides are, of course, it's sore on the hand.
Yeah.
The racket does get heavier.
I'm not a huge fan because you get like really blisters and stuff, but I can understand why people like it. Yeah.
And then, lead and its impact. Lead is just like a tool to customize rackets. Yeah. So it's the heaviest sort of substance that is available.
So you can like use a thin tape to actually increase weight.
Yeah, exactly. So like somebody asked me about tungsten tape recently, which is, let's say, better for you, or you know, like whatever you want to say. However, it's thick, you know, so you have like this kind of thick rubbery material on the side of the frame.
And it can fall off.
You know. So lead is one of those that just, it works. It's been used for a while. There's nothing actually better at the moment. So, but you can just affect the racket's playability so much with lead or with weight.
So I mean, maybe he meant the effect on his body as well. Like, should people be worried about using lead tape on their fingers?
Yeah.
No, because I think like you need to manage a lot of lead tape and
like submerge
lick your
yourself in
fingers.
it,
Yeah, exactly, and
like
do a lead bath or whatever.
Yeah.
It's not going to be that harmful on a customization.
No,
basis.
because also like you press it down, and I use a tool to like press it down, not for just because I think it works better. You know,
you get more pressure on.
Yeah, and then you wash your hands.
Yeah.
You know, so I don't think there's anything like crazy.
Don't lick the lead tape.
No, don't eat it. Don't. You never know.
That's it.
Yeah, and then last question from Adam Kang. Future of strings and the best string machines right now. That's quite a good question.
That's a good question. Sounds like up your wheelhouse. I can do the strings. I mean, there's a bunch of new strings coming out. The trend is that we're getting like softer polyesters.
Yes, yeah, definitely.
So they're trying to find like the perfect mix of some arm comfort, but still like the good playability and the elasticity of a polyester string.
Well, why do you actually think that is? Do you think it's because they want more juniors? Do you think it's because they like are bothered about arm playability, or they want more older players to use poly strings because they're maybe more? Well, actually, you know, multis are generally quite expensive as well, so the price point is similar.
No,
I wonder why. But it's true that all the brands are kind of coming out with softer.
And also thinner gauges, which pretty much performs the same way. So you have like some 1.05, 1.10 polyesters. I think it's generally because what I've heard from racket shops is that people want to play with a polyester.
Yeah.
The pros are doing it. You get a bit more control.
Yeah.
Obviously, it goes that after a while you have to be a bit more, think about depending on how hard you hit, of course. But and it's more durable, so they feel like they want to play with polyester, but their arm maybe cannot handle it because it's stiffer.
Yeah.
So they see that there is a huge niche here which could be filled. I think many pros are now hybriding two polyesters, so they want maybe like a softer poly and a stiffer poly in a combination. So I think that's also a benefit of that. And stringing machines is your question.
Stringing machines, as far as I know, there aren't any big changes in string machines at the moment. All the machines out generally all have their pros and cons. There isn't one machine that is like way above the rest, in my opinion anyway. Technofiber have a great machine, Wilson have a great machine, Head have a great machine. They have a new machine coming out as well. Also the more, let's say, affordable machines are also, I would say they're getting better for the price point. So you have like the Pros Pro with the linear pullback, I can't remember what it's called, and it's around €1,000, which, is pretty good for the price point. You don't get the same quality, the same consistency as you do with the bigger machines, but for like a good recreational machine, I think it's pretty good. I would like to hopefully see some big changes soon from string machines, whether it's making them more portable, making them lighter, easier. Something has to change, because like if you look at what's the classic babbler, the Star 5 or any of those, there's no difference really in that and the machine that the latest machine from Yonex, from Head. They look more like a spaceship, they paint's nicer or whatever, but different
functionalities are not that
different, and I don't know what I would like to see, but I would like to see something different. I think at least, even though it didn't really work that well, that Babbler at least made this like round turntable. They wanted to put in the system with the screen into their, the ideas at least were creative, that it was something new. I think there should be more portable machines.
The portability is very important. I think for most players who want to travel for tennis, be serious about their tennis, or even have multiple locations where they're at and they want to bring it. If they have a huge 30-kilo machine, it's impossible. So you have these very portable machines that are not bad, but I think you could find something a little bit in between.
Exactly, something that you don't need to fit in your tennis bag, but you don't need 4 big boxes.
You could have a big bag, like a
tennis bag. I think someone like Slinger's done great with the ball machine.
Exactly,
something similar-ish in a string machine would be cool.
A stringer.
Exactly. Because like you said, with the portable machines, there's the non-electric one. Which
there's my stringer,
works.
There's the easy stringer, there's all kinds of the Pro one that you've tried. I think the Pro stringer.
The Pro stringer, for me, of the really portable machines, is my favorite. Was also one of the first ones. It has constant pull. It has, it is electric.
And it's quite small.
It is small. It literally goes in a bag like this. I know as well they're trying to do nice things. They have a foundation in Africa as well, so they've sent some machines over there. And then we've actually donated courses, string courses to them over there. So we also see some of the tennis players that instead of giving away their old rackets, they send them now to people that can really use them, all their old gear, rackets. So we try to help as well. With that, there's hopefully something cool will be coming. If not, we're gonna have to make our own string machine.